The strange signals came from beyond the stars. At first, scientists thought it was just space noise. But Dr. Daniel Carter knew better. Working late in his lab, he noticed patterns in the signals that couldn't be random. "There's something here," he whispered to himself, rubbing his tired eyes. For weeks, Daniel barely slept. He filled notebooks with calculations and possible translations. His colleagues worried about him, but he couldn't stop. Not when he was so close. Then one night, it happened. The computer finished translating the basic structure of the alien language. Daniel stared at the screen, his coffee forgotten in his hand. "Hello, Earth. We have been watching." Within hours, the government took over. Daniel found himself in a secured facility with the best computers and assistance money could buy. Lisa Winters, the UN Secretary General, personally oversaw the project. "Dr. Carter, your discovery may be the most important moment in human history," she told him, her face serious. "We need to respond carefully." Daniel nodded. "The message mentions something called the Galactic Confederation. They say they're sending representatives." 3 months later, the first alien ship appeared in orbit. It didn't look threatening. Sleek and silver, more like art than a spaceship. When the aliens requested permission to land, world leaders argued for days before finally agreeing. The landing zone was prepared in a remote desert. Military forces surrounded the area, though they tried to look welcoming rather than threatening. Television crews broadcast everything live. The ship touched down silently. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then a door opened and the aliens emerged. They called themselves the Vextal. Their ambassador, Vextaler, stood 7 feet tall with blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer. 4 arms moved gracefully as he spoke through a translation device. "We greet Earth with peaceful intentions," he announced. "Your species has reached a development stage worthy of contact." The aliens explained that they were part of a vast galactic confederation, thousands of species united across the stars. Earth, they said, had been classified as a protected world until now. "Your potential is great," Vextaler told the human representatives, "but you are still young among the stars." The aliens offered knowledge and technology, medical advances, improved energy systems, faster communication. But when Lisa Winters asked about space travel and defense systems, the aliens became evasive. "Such technologies must be earned through time and trust," Vextaler explained. "The Confederation has strict protocols." Behind closed doors, Earth's leaders debated. Some wanted to reject the aliens' offer, concerned about the restrictions. Others saw the tremendous benefits the new technologies could bring. "We can learn from them," Lisa argued during a tense meeting. "Even with limitations, their knowledge could advance us by centuries." Daniel wasn't so sure. He had spent more time with the aliens than anyone else, helping with translations and cultural exchange. Something about their careful control of information bothered him. "They're not telling us everything," he said quietly during a private meeting with Lisa. "I've analyzed their language patterns. There are inconsistencies when they discuss certain topics." Lisa sighed. "That may be true, but we can't turn down this opportunity. The benefits outweigh the risks." After weeks of negotiations, Earth officially accepted status as a protectorate of the Galactic Confederation. The agreement promised technological exchange, protection from cosmic threats, and eventual full membership in the galactic community. At the signing ceremony, Vextaler presented Lisa with a small crystal device. "This will allow us to communicate directly with your leadership," he explained. "We look forward to guiding your species' development." The crowd applauded, but Daniel watched from the back of the room, frowning. In the alien's 4-fingered hand, the crystal glowed with an unusual pattern, one that hadn't been in any of the technical specifications they'd been shown. As everyone celebrated humanity's entrance to the galactic stage, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that they had just signed away something important. 20 years passed since Earth joined the Galactic Confederation. The alien technology changed human life in many ways. New medicines cured diseases. Clean energy replaced fossil fuels. Communication systems connected the world like never before. But not everything was perfect. Commander Jack Phillips sat alone in his office at the International Space Defense Force headquarters. His desk was covered with reports about the latest resource shipments to Confederation worlds. Something didn't add up. These quotas keep increasing, he muttered to himself, comparing documents. But what are we getting in return? Jack had served as a military liaison to the aliens for 5 years. He had watched as more and more of Earth's rare minerals, water, and biological samples were sent off-world. The Confederation called it fair exchange, but the balance seemed to tilt more in their favor each year. One night, while working late, Jack discovered a file that wasn't supposed to exist. It contained classified communication between Vextaler and the Confederation Council. Jack's heart raced as he read. Earth's resources are proving more valuable than anticipated. Humans remain compliant. Eventual colonization timeline moved forward. Jack copied the files and erased his digital tracks. He needed help from someone he could trust. Major Susan Grayson had always been suspicious of the aliens. As head of a small intelligence unit, she had been collecting her own evidence of Confederation activities that contradicted their public promises. "I knew it," she said when Jack showed her the files in a secure room. "They're not partners. They're preparing us for something worse." "But what can we do?" Jack asked. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours." Susan smiled. "Maybe not as far beyond as they want us to believe. I know someone you should meet." Natalie Harris worked in one of the joint human-alien engineering facilities. For years, she had been secretly studying the alien technology, figuring out how it really worked instead of just using it as the Confederation taught. "They deliberately hold back the fundamental principles," Natalie explained when they met in her small apartment. "They teach us to operate their tech like children pressing buttons, not like engineers who understand the machinery." Jack looked at the modified devices spread across her workbench. "You've been reverse engineering their technology." "Not just reverse engineering. Improving it." Natalie held up what looked like a power cell. "This generates twice the energy of their version. They're efficient, but not innovative." They'd been using the same designs for centuries. Over the next few months, Jack assembled a small team. Susan brought in military personnel who shared their concerns. Natalie recruited engineers and scientists who had secretly developed their own versions of alien technology. They worked in shadows, aware that Confederation monitors were everywhere. The aliens had surveillance systems throughout major cities and government facilities. Their ships constantly orbited Earth, allegedly for protection. One night, while reviewing plans, Jack received an urgent message from a contact at UN headquarters. The Confederation had ordered new resource extraction rights in protected wilderness areas and ocean sanctuaries. "This isn't just about resources anymore," Susan said as they watched footage of the announcement. "They're testing how far they can push us." Natalie spread blueprints on the table. "Then it's time we pushed back. I've been working on something." The design showed a ship unlike anything humans had officially built. It incorporated Confederation technology, but with significant modifications that would make it unrecognizable to alien sensors. "Can we actually build this?" Jack asked, examining the details. "We already started," Natalie replied. "There's an old mining facility beneath the Antarctic ice. Perfect hiding place from their satellites." Jack looked at his two colleagues. What they were considering wasn't just dangerous. It was potentially the beginning of an interstellar conflict. But as he thought about the hidden files, the growing demands, and the hints of colonization plans, he knew they had no choice. "Then let's get to work," he said. "Earth needs a defense they won't expect." The wind howled over the Antarctic ice sheet. Below the frozen surface, deep in an abandoned mining facility, Project Dreadnought was taking shape. What had once been mining tunnels now housed the most ambitious secret in human history. Jack Phillips stood on a metal walkway, watching workers assemble the massive hull of humanity's first true warship. The vessel was nearly 400 meters long, its dark metal frame unlike any public Earth vessel or known Confederation design. "How's the propulsion system coming along?" Jack asked as Dr. Ryan Mitchell approached. Ryan wiped grease from his hands. "Better than expected. We've modified the alien gravity drive to work with our power source. It's not as efficient as theirs, but it's also not broadcasting the usual Confederation energy signature." That was crucial. Everything about the ship was designed to avoid Confederation detection systems. They had named the project Dreadnought after the revolutionary battleships of old Earth that had changed naval warfare forever. "And the weapons?" Jack asked. "Lieutenant Foster wants to show you herself," Ryan replied with a small smile. They descended to a lower level where Lieutenant Emma Foster was calibrating what looked like oversized cannon barrels. "Commander Phillips," Emma greeted him. "Watch this." She activated a control panel. On a nearby test range, a target made of material similar to Confederation hull plating stood ready. The weapon hummed to life, and a beam of concentrated energy struck the target. Instead of burning through, the energy seemed to dance across the surface before suddenly collapsing inward. "What just happened?" Jack asked, impressed but confused. "We're not trying to overpower their shields like their weapons do," Emma explained. "We're destabilizing the molecular bonds in their hull materials. Less energy needed, but more devastating effect." Jack nodded. It was exactly this kind of thinking that might give them a chance. The Confederation had been using the same technology for centuries without much innovation. Humans, on the other hand, had always excelled at finding unexpected solutions. "Time frame for completion?" Jack asked. 3 more months for full systems," Ryan answered. "But we might need to accelerate that." "Why?" Susan Grayson entered the chamber, her face tense. "We just intercepted communications. Confederation security drones are increasing patrols in this sector. One nearly detected our heat signature yesterday." Jack frowned. "Do they suspect something?" "Not specifically," Susan said, "but they're getting more aggressive with their monitoring everywhere. The resource demands are increasing too. Something's changed in their timeline." The team gathered in the small command center. Screens showed the progress on different parts of the ship. Natalie Harris joined them, bringing updated schematics. "We need to talk about the crew," she said. "This ship is designed for at least 50 personnel, but we only have 32 trained so far." "We'll have to manage," Jack replied. "If the Confederation is accelerating their plans, we can't wait to find more people we trust." A sudden alarm blared through the facility. Everyone froze. "Proximity alert," Susan announced, checking the security feed. "Confederation drone, directly overhead." For tense minutes, they watched the small alien craft hover above the ice. Its sensors swept the area, searching for anything unusual. The facility's camouflage systems strained to mask their energy signature. "If it detects us..." Emma didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what would happen if the Confederation discovered their project. Finally, the drone moved on, continuing its patrol pattern toward the coast. "That was too close," Jack said quietly. "We need to improve our shielding." Natalie nodded. "I'll work on it tonight." Jack looked through the viewing port at their creation. The warship was their only hope if the Confederation decided to drop its pretense of partnership. Though it wasn't complete, the vessel already looked formidable. A dark, angular shape designed not for show but for survival. "Work faster," he told the team. "I have a feeling we're running out of time." As they returned to their stations, none of them noticed the small, nearly microscopic device that had detached from the drone and now sat on the ice above them, silently gathering data. Frank Morrison adjusted his tie as he entered the Confederation Embassy in Geneva. The gleaming building, with its strange angles and shimmering materials, never failed to make him feel small. As Earth's chief ambassador to the Galactic Confederation, he had grown used to feeling intimidated. Today, however, he came with a different attitude. "Ambassador Vextaler will see you now," said the human assistant, one of many who worked for the aliens. Frank entered the Oval Office where the tall, four-armed alien waited. Vextaler hadn't aged a day in 20 years, his blue-gray skin still smooth and luminous. Ambassador Morrison, Vextaler greeted him. I trust you've reviewed our updated resource requests. Frank placed a folder on the table between them. I have. And Earth must respectfully decline. The alien's expression didn't change. It rarely did, but a slight shimmer rippled across his skin, a sign of surprise or displeasure. Decline. The quotas are established in our agreements. They are non-negotiable. Frank stood firm. The new demands would require us to strip mine protected regions and drain aquifers that supply drinking water to millions. We cannot comply. Your world has abundant resources compared to many Confederation planets, Vextaler countered. Your obligation is clear. Our obligation was to share resources fairly. Frank replied. These new quotas are far beyond fair. We've analyzed the exchange rates. Earth provides raw materials worth trillions, yet receives technology that the Confederation considers outdated. Vextaler's upper arms crossed in what humans had learned was a defensive posture. Perhaps you forget your position, Ambassador. Earth benefits greatly from Confederation protection. Protection from what? Frank asked sharply. In 20 years, we've never seen these cosmic threats you claim to shield us from. The meeting continued for hours, growing increasingly tense. When Frank finally left, he knew he had crossed a line, but the intelligence Susan Grayson had provided left him no choice. The Confederation wasn't just taking resources. They were systematically weakening Earth for something worse. Back at UN headquarters, Lisa Winters had aged gracefully into her role as Secretary General. Now in her 70s, she listened intently as Frank reported on the meeting. They didn't take it well, he concluded. We expected that, Lisa said. What's their next move? Before Frank could answer, an aide rushed in. Madam Secretary, we're receiving reports of a Confederation battlecruiser entering Earth orbit. Screens around the room activated, showing satellite images of a massive vessel twice the size of anything the aliens had previously stationed near Earth. They're not wasting time, Frank murmured. Within an hour, Vextaler requested an emergency session with the UN Security Council. His message was broadcast globally. The Confederation Council expresses concern over Earth's sudden resistance to established protocols, the alien announced. This battlecruiser comes not as a threat, but as a reminder of the protective services we provide. However, continued non-compliance with resource agreements may require a reassessment of Earth's protectorate status. The threat was clear to everyone. In the Antarctic facility, Jack Phillips watched the broadcast with his team. The warship was nearly complete, but they had hoped for more time. They're moving faster than we anticipated, Susan said, entering data into their tactical systems. That battlecruiser carries enough firepower to flatten our major cities. Jack looked at the readiness reports. The dreadnought's engines were operational. Weapons systems were at 82%. Hull integrity was sound. It wasn't perfect, but it might be enough. How soon can we launch? He asked Natalie. She checked her calculations. 24 hours minimum. We need to run final checks on the stealth systems. Jack nodded grimly. Do it in 12. I don't think we have longer than that. Above them, the Confederation battlecruiser moved into a geosynchronous position over North America, its weapons ports clearly visible even to Earth's civilian telescopes. Send word to Captain Barnes, Jack ordered. Tell her to prepare her crew. Project Dreadnought launches tomorrow. As the team scattered to their stations, Jack looked at the final message from their intelligence network. Multiple Confederation transports preparing for departure toward Earth. Contents: Colonial Administration personnel. Their worst fears were coming true. The pretense of partnership was ending. Tomorrow would determine if humanity had a future among the stars, or under them. The ice above the hidden facility began to crack. First small fissures appeared, then larger breaks as something massive pushed upward from below. With a thunderous sound, sheets of ancient ice cascaded away as a dark shape emerged. The Defiance rose into the Antarctic sky. Unlike the smooth, elegant curves of Confederation vessels, Humanity's first warship was angular and threatening. Its hull absorbed rather than reflected light, making it appear like a hole in reality against the bright polar day. On the bridge, Captain Olivia Barnes gripped the command rail. At 42, she had spent her military career preparing for a war most people didn't know was coming. Now that moment had arrived. "Stealth systems engage," reported her tactical officer. "No indication of detection yet." "Take us up slowly," Olivia ordered. "Maintain minimum power until we clear the atmosphere." The massive ship rose with surprising grace, its gravity manipulation systems counteracting its enormous weight. As it ascended, ground crews at the hidden base quickly erased all evidence of the facility, setting demolition charges to collapse the underground chambers. On board the Confederation battlecruiser Dominance, Commander Zexvor received the first alert. "Unknown energy signature detected near Earth's southern pole," a sensor operator reported. "Configuration doesn't match any registered Earth vessel." "Display," Zexvor ordered. The main screen showed only static. Their sensors could detect something, but couldn't form a clear image. "Impossible," the commander muttered. "Enhanced scanning frequencies." In low Earth orbit, the Defiance continued its ascent. Inside, 200 crew members worked at their stations. Most had been training in secret for years, practicing on simulators built from stolen Confederation data. "We're being scanned," the tactical officer announced. "Their sensors are trying to penetrate our stealth field." Olivia nodded. "Let them look. Ryan's absorption technology should keep them guessing." Dr. Ryan Mitchell had developed a hull material that absorbed most scanning frequencies. Unlike traditional stealth technology that deflected scans, this approach simply swallowed them, returning minimal data. "We're at optimal range," the weapons officer reported. "Weapons charged and ready." "Not yet," Olivia said calmly. "First, let's introduce ourselves." Throughout the Galactic Confederation, an unprecedented event was occurring. Emergency broadcasts interrupted regular communications on thousands of worlds. The Confederation Council had convened an emergency session. "We are detecting an unknown vessel of significant size near Earth," announced the Grand Counselor, his translucent tentacles waving in agitation. "It appears the Protectorate species has concealed military developments." As the Council debated, the Defiance made its move. It accelerated suddenly, positioning itself between the Confederation battlecruiser and Earth. "Captain, we're in position," the navigation officer reported. Olivia stood. "Open a channel. Broadcast on all Confederation frequencies, and make sure it reaches their council meeting too." The communications officer nodded. "Channel open. Broadcasting system-wide." Olivia straightened her uniform and looked directly at the camera. Her words would soon reach across the galaxy. "This is Captain Olivia Barnes of the Earth vessel Defiance. For 20 years, humanity has endured Confederation rule under the guise of protection. We have watched our resources stripped away while receiving only limited technology in return. Today, that arrangement ends." On the Confederation battlecruiser, Commander Zexvor watched in shock as the human vessel finally became visible, dropping its stealth field to reveal its true size and configuration. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their technological level shouldn't allow this." Olivia continued her broadcast. "Humanity will no longer be subjugated. We seek peaceful relations with all galactic species, but we will defend our world and our rights." To demonstrate our resolve, she nodded to her weapons officer. The Defiance fired a single shot, not at the battlecruiser, but at a small uninhabited moon orbiting Mars. The beam struck with pinpoint accuracy, and for a moment nothing happened. Then, to the astonishment of Confederation observers, the moon's surface collapsed inward, a significant portion of its mass imploding from the molecular destabilization. Throughout the galaxy, viewers watched in stunned silence. "We await your response," Olivia concluded. "Choose carefully." Chaos erupted across Confederation communication channels. The demonstration of the Defiance's weaponry had shocked even the most powerful military commanders. No protectorate species had ever developed technology capable of such destruction, especially not in secret. "Target that vessel immediately," ordered Fleet Admiral Quilluxor from Confederation High Command. "Deploy all available ships to Earth sector." But not everyone agreed with this aggressive response. The Confederation Council remained divided. "The humans have shown remarkable ingenuity," argued Counselor Meverine of the Science Division. "Perhaps we have underestimated their potential as allies rather than subjects." On Earth, Admiral George Wilson coordinated the planet's response from a hardened bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. For years, his team had been secretly installing defense systems based on Natalie Harris's innovations. "Activate the orbital defense grid," he ordered, "but keep it powered down until my command. We don't want to reveal all our cards at once." Around the planet, hidden installations came online. Unlike the massive Defiance, these were small, automated platforms disguised as communication satellites or space debris. Each carried a scaled-down version of the molecular destabilization weapon. In orbit, the Confederation battlecruiser Dominance moved to engage the Defiance. Commander Zexpor had received direct orders to neutralize the human vessel. "Targeting systems locked," his weapons officer reported. "Firing solution ready." "Fire," Zexpor commanded. Energy beams streaked across space toward the Defiance. Captain Barnes had anticipated this response. "Evasive pattern Delta," she ordered calmly. "Deploy countermeasures." The human ship moved with unexpected agility, rolling away from the attack while releasing a cloud of small drones. The Confederation beams struck several drones, which absorbed and dispersed the energy. "Return fire," Olivia ordered. "Target their weapons systems only." The Defiance fired with surgical precision. The beams struck the battlecruiser's main weapon ports, causing not a massive explosion, but a localized collapse of material. 4 of the Dominance's 6 weapon systems crumpled inward, becoming useless. "Impossible," Zexpor shouted. "Their targeting systems shouldn't be that accurate." On dozens of worlds across the galaxy, subjugated species watched the broadcast with growing hope. The Trell, insectoid beings who had been Confederation servants for centuries, began quiet discussions about their own independence. The aquatic Mura sent secret communications to Earth offering alliance. Within hours, 7 more Confederation warships arrived in Earth's system. They surrounded the Defiance in standard attack formation. "We're outnumbered," Olivia's first officer observed. "Numbers don't matter when they're using predictable tactics," she replied. "Remember your training." What followed astonished Confederation military experts. The Defiance executed maneuvers no known ship should be capable of, using the gravity wells of Earth and the Moon to slingshot between attacking vessels. Each passed disabled key systems on a Confederation ship without destroying it completely. "She's not trying to kill them," Admiral Wilson noted as he watched the battle from Earth. "Smart. We don't want to be seen as aggressors." After 3 hours of combat, 5 Confederation ships were disabled, their propulsion or weapon systems compromised. The remaining 3 held position, unwilling to continue against this unexpected threat. In the council chamber, the Grand Counselor received an urgent message. After reading it, he raised his appendages for silence. "We have received communication requests from 17 previously subjugated species," he announced, "all citing the human resistance as inspiration. Additionally, the Archon Federation, which has remained neutral to our activities, has expressed interest in establishing direct relations with Earth." This news sent greater shockwaves through the Council than the battle itself. The Archon Federation was a mysterious but powerful alliance of species that had maintained distance from Confederation affairs. "The humans must be contained before this spreads further," insisted the military representative. "Perhaps," suggested an elder counselor, "we should consider another approach. The humans have proven themselves more resourceful than anticipated. They could make valuable allies rather than problematic subjects." After heated debate, a decision was made. The communication channel to the Defiance opened. Captain Barnes, the Grand Counselor's translator, conveyed, The Confederation Council requests a ceasefire and diplomatic discussions. We recognize that our previous arrangements may require reconsideration. Olivia exchanged glances with her officers, then nodded slightly. We accept your request for dialogue, she responded, on neutral ground with equal standing. For the first time in its long history, the Galactic Confederation would negotiate with a protectorate as equals. The Treaty of Seoul was signed 6 months after the Defiance's dramatic emergence. The massive document, written in both human languages and Confederation standard, established Earth as a full member of the galactic community with equal rights and protections. Jack Phillips stood at the observation window of the newly constructed orbital station Unity. Below him, Earth gleamed blue and white against the blackness of space. Beside him, Susan Grayson watched silently as shuttles from a dozen alien worlds docked at the station. "Did you ever think we'd see this day?" Jack asked quietly. Susan smiled. "Honestly, I thought we'd either be colonized or fighting a hopeless war by now." The 6 months since the standoff had transformed humanity's place in the galaxy. With the advantage of the Defiance and Earth's surprising defense capabilities, humans had negotiated from a position of strength. The treaty guaranteed Earth's sovereignty and ended the exploitative resource agreements. More importantly, it acknowledged humanity's right to develop its own technology and maintain its own defensive fleet. "Admiral Barnes's shuttle is approaching," announced a voice over the station's communication system. They turned to watch as a sleek craft docked. Minutes later, Olivia Barnes entered the observation deck, now wearing the uniform of an admiral in Earth's new defense force. "Congratulations on the promotion," Jack said, saluting her formally before embracing her as a friend. "Just more meetings and less action," Olivia replied with a smile. "But someone has to oversee the fleet expansion." Beyond the station, construction facilities were building the next generation of Earth vessels. Unlike the hastily constructed Defiance, these ships incorporated the best of human innovation with technologies now freely shared by new alien allies. "The Trell ambassador is requesting another meeting," Susan informed Olivia. "Their engineers want to discuss joint shipbuilding projects." Again, Olivia shook her head with amusement. "They're fascinated by our approach to hull design." The insectoid Trell had been among the first former Confederation subjects to establish direct relations with Earth. Their mathematical skills complemented human creativity, making their joint projects particularly successful. "How are the negotiations with the Archon going?" Jack asked. "Slowly but positively," Olivia replied. "They're still cautious, but impressed by how we handled the Confederation. Their technology is even more advanced, but they've offered to share medical sciences as a gesture of goodwill." A soft chime interrupted them. The observation deck's large display activated, showing a live feed from Geneva. Frank Morrison stood beside Lisa Winters as they welcomed representatives from 27 galactic species to the first Earth-hosted Interstellar Commerce Summit. "Look how far we've come," Susan mused. "From protected species to hosting galactic trade talks in half a year." Not everything had changed smoothly. Several Confederation hardliners still considered humans dangerous upstarts. Security remained tight around Earth, with the Defiance and its sister ships constantly patrolling. But the balance of power had shifted dramatically. "The new Confederation Council representative arrives tomorrow," Jack mentioned. "First time they're sending someone who wasn't part of the old administration." "Progress," Olivia agreed. "Slow, but real." As evening approached, the observation deck emptied except for Jack and Susan. They watched Earth rotate below them, city lights becoming visible as darkness spread across the continents. "Do you remember that night you showed me those classified files?" Susan asked. "How terrified we were." Jack nodded. "I was certain we'd fail, that the Confederation was too powerful." "What made you keep going?" Jack considered this for a moment. "I guess I couldn't accept that humanity's story would end as just another conquered world. We've always been stubborn that way." The station's orbit took them over Asia, where new manufacturing centers were producing components for the growing fleet. Further east, the Pacific glittered with the lights of research platforms developing technologies that would soon surpass what the Confederation had hidden from them. Natalie says the new propulsion system tests exceeded expectations, Susan said. The Archon scientists were apparently speechless. Jack smiled. They'll get used to it. Humanity's just getting started. As Earth completed another turn around its axis, ships from a dozen worlds moved in careful patterns around the planet that had, in one bold moment, changed the galaxy forever.